to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here. Now, if you get anxious a lot, or if you've had anxiety attacks or panic attacks, I think you might get some value from this because it was created for a client that, as a result of a tragedy many years before, they were in a state of hypervigilance. And it was a horrible situation that they were in, where in that moment, anxiety was a completely natural reaction. Someone died in the very situation that they were in. They were lucky to be alive. But because of that, there was a feeling of survivor's guilt and a feeling that maybe they didn't do enough. And that created a real hypervigilance that they have to be on guard for any danger. What was interesting, though, is that since that point, almost 99.9% of all of the anxiety that they experienced was a false alarm. It was an overreaction. It was the boy who cried wolf, and there was never a wolf. And what this session does is it uses the biological functions of the brain linked to anxiety, things like the limbic system, the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the functions of that to highlight that there is a part within them that is now too sensitive, too cautious. It's seeing danger everywhere, even when there isn't any. And that means that they're having all this anxiety, even though it's not useful anxiety. So it uses elements of suggestions about neuropsychology, but also parts therapy to say, well, what if either we give that overprotective part a bit of a break, or share the responsibility, or introduce a criteria so that we reduce the amount of false alarms. That's a win because the body does not want to be using adrenaline if it doesn't have to. It doesn't want to have false alarms because if you use all of your adrenaline for a false alarm and then you're actually in danger, then you don't have any of the resource that you actually need when you actually need it. Just imagine if your fire alarm in your home or your smoke alarm in your kitchen went off, but it could only go off once per month. Just imagine that. And it goes off because you burn some toast, and then actually a few weeks later there's a fire, then actually the false alarm would have been detrimental. And that's how it does work with your adrenal system and the limbic system, is that you've got enough adrenaline for about 20 minutes. And people that have adrenal fatigue or have a overly sensitive anxiety system actually means that if they actually need it, they're probably not going to have the same resources as they would do if their brain was more discerning about when it actually had those reactions. So there's a bit going on here. I want you to think about where you feel anxiety in your body and how do you know that you're about to feel it and it's going to get worse. That's going to help you to get more value from this. And just imagine that if there was a part responsible for scanning for dangers, do you think that part within you currently is getting it about right? Are they too cautious or are they not cautious enough? And whatever it is, this session will help that part to recalibrate so that you get the right level of anxiety, almost repairing your radar. The best way to enjoy this session is to find a quiet, relaxing place, the kind of environment where you're not going to be distracted or disturbed, and then relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a feeling of calm capability. And as you exhale, feel like it's activating a release valve. Any excess tension, stress, worries, or anxiety, just feel it leave your body in that outward breath. And with your eyes closed, notice how much easier it becomes to focus on the sound of my voice. That's it. Breathing in through your nose and exhaling through the nose. Breathing in and breathing out. And the thing about breathing, you don't need to force it, to speed it up or slow it down. Your body already knows how to breathe. And even when the mind becomes concerned about breathing, the body continues quietly doing what it has done your entire life. So just give permission for each breath to become a little slower, a little deeper, a little more relaxed, if your body agrees that it's happy to do so. And with each outward breath, give permission to begin dissolving that tension from the body. As your mind settles, your imagination can start imagining the body from the inside. And sometimes it's helpful to understand about how the brain actually works. Because deep within the brain are ancient systems that weren't designed for modern day. They were designed for a dangerous time where there were threats everywhere. Parts of the brain are hardwired for survival. And one part is called the amygdala, that can scan for danger and react when necessary. The amygdala is tiny, the size of a pea, right in the center of your brain. And then there's the hippocampus, a larger part right at the top of the brainstem, where it meets the spine. And this part stores memories and compares current experiences with past experiences. Because if something dangerous happened in the past, your brain tries to learn from it to keep you safe in the present. But what if an intense time from the past breaks the radar to give you false readings? Almost like an alarm system that is just too sensitive. I want you to get a feeling that that hippocampus, that amygdala, are all connected to something called the limbic system. And this system evolved long before modern life. Thousands and thousands of years ago. A time when detecting danger quickly could mean the difference between surviving and not surviving. And if that system detects what it thinks might be real danger, it activates adrenaline. Heart rate changes, breathing changes, blood flow shifts, and energy surges through the body, all designed for one purpose: survival, to keep you alive. And that worked very well for your ancestors thousands of years ago, when bears and wolves and tigers and other tribes could easily mean instant death. But fast forward to modern life, and the threats are rarely the kind that require running or fighting. And if there was a moment of real danger, then the limbic system could easily be too sensitive. A radar that treats every shadow as a possible threat and every sound as a possible danger, detecting things that are not actually dangerous. Being on public transport, confined space, or feeling like you can't leave in that moment. What if that triggers that life or death reaction when it isn't needed? And I want you to think about just how many false alarms you've experienced. And if you believe that your radar is broken, that your brain is activating as if there's real danger when there's very little threat or danger at all, just let me know by nodding your head. That's it. Because when that radar becomes too sensitive, it can send signals that feel intense. And sometimes the feelings like lightheadedness or changes in breathing or sensations in the chest or tingling in the fingers. What if that makes the threat seem more real? Because the body is acting as if it's real. What if the false alarm creates the adrenaline, and adrenaline creates a surge of energy rising through the body? And what if that surge of energy creates more evaluations that something isn't right, and then in reaction sends out more adrenaline? But there's something interesting about adrenaline. The body doesn't make too much of it. So adrenaline can't sustain itself for very long. It's like an emergency alarm. Temporary. 15 minutes or so is all it has. And that's why even the strongest waves of anxiety peak and then fall within minutes. Just like a wave rising, coming to the crest of the wave and then returning to calm water. And I want you to imagine what it would be like to start to change these evaluations. I want you to focus your attention toward your body, right in the middle of your chest, there behind the rib cage. And I want you to imagine a tiny white star vibrating with particles. It's powerful. And I want you to imagine just observing, appreciating the wonder of that power. No need to resist that sensation or make it do anything that it would normally not do. Just imagine observing it with curiosity. Because curiosity activates a different part of the brain. The intelligent, evolved part, the prefrontal cortex. that thoughtful part of the brain brings balance to that ancient limbic system. And as you observe the sensation, you may notice that sensations change. Maybe that star expands or contracts, shifts or moves, because sensations are never static. They are always moving energy. And when that curious mind observes them, without alarm or without meaning, the body begins calming naturally. Sometimes it's felt like that tiny star has erupted like a volcano or exploded. But I want you to get a sense that what if that's simply a reaction to habits of the past or false evaluations in the present? And I want you to imagine a chain reaction of dominoes. One domino hits another domino, hits another domino, and creates that chain reaction. But what would happen if you just moved 2 or 3 dominoes so that the sequence could start but not quite finish? What if that chain reaction never made its way to the very core of your brain? Then everything that follows also wouldn't happen. But even if it did, what if we could work with that part to make it better at evaluating real danger? And I want you to imagine that part now. The part responsible for scanning and detecting danger. The part connected with that radar. And I want you to praise its work ethic. It clearly works very hard to keep you safe. In fact, it's trying too hard to protect you. I want you to imagine a security guard that if one time long ago they felt they weren't alert enough, that security guard might try and overcompensate by being hypervigilant. But what if that security guard never slept, saw danger everywhere? That security guard would be exhausted, prone to making mistakes. And I want you to thank that part that's been trying to protect you for all of their effort, all of their attention and dedication. But I want you to let that part know that despite its best efforts, it's seeing danger where there is none too many times. It's been using criteria that is just too sensitive. Like a smoke alarm that goes off, not when there's a fire, but when someone makes toast. Still trying to help, but reacting too quickly and disproportionately. And I want you to imagine meeting this part now. Maybe you can imagine it as a person or a symbol, an entity, or simply a feeling. And you may notice something interesting. This part is not and has never been your enemy. It's simply been trying too hard. It's been overworking. It's exhausted, desperate, paranoid and frantic. And I want you to imagine offering this part an upgrade. Or perhaps ask this part if it would like to share the responsibility with another part so it can take time off to finally rest, reassess, recalibrate. Imagine a worker that's been working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week and never had a holiday. Could they really do that job very well? And if this part is receptive to doing less work but a better job, or having additional tools and resources to upgrade it, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. So offer that part an upgrade to give it a new way of evaluating threats. Maybe you consider it a criteria. Instead of reacting to any sensation or any evaluation, this part now checks 3 simple questions before activating the alarm. First, is there any real physical danger right now? And maybe they have to back that up with evidence, like, what can you see? How do you know you're in real physical danger? And second, what's the probability of this real physical danger actually happening? If there is no danger, and even if there was, the probability is low, there is no need to hit that alarm. And even if the danger is real, but there's a tiny probability, there is no need to hit that alarm. And then the third question is there a better way to handle this threat than huge amounts of adrenaline and cortisol? The alarm system is meant to be the last resort, not the first response. Because sometimes you can handle a threat by just slowing down, pausing, making a decision or a choice, focusing your attention elsewhere, or just being more resourceful by calming down. I want you to communicate again with that part and say, are they willing to meet the new criteria? The danger is real, the probability is high, and there are no other options to deal with it other than all of this adrenaline. And if all are true, then they have permission to hit the emergency alarm. But if they're not, then they will utilize the other resources like intelligence, decision-making, assessment, to deal with the situation in a different way. Being on public transport is not a physical threat. There's no high probability of danger. And even if there was, adrenaline doesn't make it better, it makes it worse. If that part agrees to that new criteria, and to share the responsibility with other, also highly capable parts, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And then give it a holiday. It's been working non-stop for years. Ask it where it would like to go. Give it permission to take as long as it needs to charge its batteries up. Instead of punishing it for making all these mistakes, reward it for its effort. It is, after all, been trying to keep you safe all this time, even if it was seeing danger where there was none. Tell this part that you have absolute confidence in its ability to alert you of real danger when there is real danger, and to trust other resources when there isn't. And in doing so, it fixes the radar so that you're alerted when there's real danger and not alerted when there isn't. But you don't have to be the one directly managing this part that's there to protect you. I want you to imagine another part of your mind stepping forward, a calmer, wiser, more accurate guardian, one that still protects you, but evaluates situations more intelligently using nuance. This part works closely with your prefrontal cortex, the reasoning brain, the part that knows that these sensations are temporary, that any waves of anxiety is just adrenaline and cortisol and it will pass. This new guardian becomes the overseer of the radar system. It will do the job while the other part is taking that vacation. But even when that part returns, they will answer to the new guardian, allowing the original protective part to rest for now. And when the part returns, they will work as a partnership, sharing the responsibility, helping each other become better and better at reducing false alarms and only alerting you when the danger is real, when the risks are highly probable, and that the limbic system is the only way to deal with it. And let's go forward in time and test it. Imagine being in one of those situations, maybe a train, a bus, a plane, or a car in heavy traffic. And I want you to imagine something different happens. The radar is still scanning for threats and recognizes there is no real danger here. And that means that any anxiety you feel is no longer real anxiety. It's just echoes of the previous times when you felt it. And the thing with echoes is that they get quieter and quieter as time goes on. Perceiving anxiety as an echo is you telling yourself there is no imminent threat. Which means even if there is a burst of anxiety, it will go quickly because it's an echo and there is no real danger there at all. And when the body realizes and evaluates there is no danger, you can breathe in through the nose and those long outward breaths. You will quickly allow the nervous system to calm. And as the breathing slows, the adrenaline fades. The wave may rise slightly, just as echoes do, but then falls equally fast, just like every wave has done before. But what if those 15-minute waves become 10-minute waves? And 10-minute waves become 5-minute waves. And 5-minute waves become 1 or 2-minute waves. And those small waves become just a few seconds and then nothing at all. And each time your mind experiences this pattern, your brain learns something new. Your neural pathways strengthen. The limbic system recalibrates. The radar becomes more accurate. And those situations that once triggered anxiety begin feeling easier, calmer, more manageable. Because the brain has learned that those sensations are just temporary signals, and maybe even echoes of false alarms, not real danger. And just imagine that chain reaction of a glowing white star exploding upwards and outwards to the chest, creating lightheadedness. What if that whole chain of events starts to get interrupted or diluted, so that before long you find yourself doing things that once had such an intense reaction, until eventually they give you no reaction at all. And as you hold that thought of optimism, it's time to return. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose, and wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now, as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.